1990, they released a film called Dance with the Wolves. And I was in that movie, and I had about 5 lines in that movie. And so I worked on that film. But I worked in another film called Crazy Horse. I don't know if you guys ever seen Crazy Horse with Ted Turner. And in that movie, I played Crazy Horse's first mentor, his first teacher. And I used to do my own stunts. And they flew me to Italy to ride a horse down a mountain, full speed, bareback. And there was this other Blackfoot Indian guy, and he was, what was his name? I shouldn't say his name. Anyway, he says, I come from a long line of famous horsemen. Buffalo Joe could get hurt if he gets on a horse down a mountain. And I said, I ride pretty good. And so they made me and this Blackfoot guy dance right off. So we both went down the cliff bareback, riding his horse down a mountain in Italy. And they said, Buffalo rode better than you, so I got the job. So I rode down that mountain twice bareback. But I used to do a lot of stunt work on horses. And one time I worked on this film called Cowboys and Aliens. And when I was working on that film, you know, we'd have sometimes they'd explode Nikon bombs in these big rims. This flames go flying up like this, and we'd be riding horses. We'd be shooting 12 gauges like blanks off the horses when we were riding around full speed. You'd get on about 9 different horses a day, and you're riding up and down the hills full speed for hours. And it was exciting, you know, when you're younger. You know? But we had a lot of fun on that film. And I'd like to tell other stories about that, but I'm not going to, because there's too many stories. But I'll tell you something funny. Was I hadn't ridden bareback for a few years, and I got on this horse. The first day on set, we rode 16 hours bareback, and I hadn't ridden bareback for a few years. So you know what happens when you ride bareback? You get sweat sores, and sweat sores are basically blisters on your butt. You know, so at the end of the day, I only had about 5 minutes to go to the drugstore before it closed. So I went to the drugstore, and I said, do you have anything for minor cuts and burns? They go, yeah, here you go. So I took this home, and I had a hot shower, soap, and then I poured a whole handful of this, like just a whole hand, like a half a cup full of this stuff in the palm of my hand. I put it on my butt. It was called Sea Breeze. And I, yo! I jumped up about 4 feet in the air. Whoa! And then I had to wash it off with soap and water. But the next day, totally healed. So it works really good. Just get past the first 5 minutes of it, you know. It was kind of fun, you know. I've had a lot of, I never wanted to be an actor. You know, my little sister got into it. I was always working in the oil rigs, you know, in the triple, roughneck work, you know, spinning chain, working derrick. I was a hard worker. Then I worked at bricklayers. I looked after 4 block layers, and all by myself. And I carry blocks up 3 or 4 stories high, set up all the scaffolding, carry everything. I was a strong kid. But, you know, and then you get into acting. And then I just gradually worked into it. I did about probably 100 films, and about 50 of them were speaking parts. And I'd pay about $70,000 a year in taxes at one time. It was crazy, you know. But I left that life a long time ago. Now I live pretty normal. I live on a sort of piece of property I kind of bought. And, there's like 3 buildings in Ohio, and I was purchasing one of the houses there. But I find it humid here. I think it's even more humid in Ohio than it is in Indiana. You guys agree? Yeah, I do. You know, it's really hot there. Anyway, these guys want 10 minutes. I think they still got about another 4 minutes. Anyway, so what do you call a dog with no legs? You guys know? Yeah, that's right. Nothing, because he won't come anyway. All right. Okay. I just want to let you guys know that it's an honor to be back here. I was here last year. And this year has been super difficult to get here. Like seemed like everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like yesterday, I had 3 different vehicles to come out here. At first, my friend, her car, the rear brakes are going. So she says, I don't trust it. And I said, okay. So I said, I'll just tune up my Corolla and we'll go take that. And then I found out that after I did the power steering, drained it, fixed the emergency brake, adjusted a few things, I found a serpentine belt and I found that the bolt busted off on it. And the only way to fix that is to lift the motor and drill out the bolt. And I never had time to do that, so my Corolla's broken. So I took my Jeep, and I got a Wrangler Jeep, you know, one of those muscle Jeeps with lift kits and a big winch in the front, you know, high-powered Jeep for doing like tours in Sedona. So I went to drive my Jeep, so I drove my Jeep there. Then my friend got sick. She had to go to the hospital yesterday, and they put her on IV and put antibiotics in her drip thing, you know, and it was weird. She said, I can't ride in a Jeep because you don't have a window in the back. I'll get sick. And I said, what are we going to do? She says, take my car. And I said, okay. So we took her car and I drove over here. And it was like, I drove all the way about 5 hours and some minutes here and almost not touching the brakes once I got on the highway steady. So that was pretty amazing. The only time we'd use the brakes is when we got in a little town and I'd put it in neutral a little bit and coast it and then barely put the brake on. But now we got to fix the brake. But that was weird, you know, having 3 different vehicles that we couldn't get here with. So I got here I was supposed to be here at noontime today. I got here at 1 o'clock. And it's been interesting, you know. But I mean, there's an old saying, when something goes wrong, you just keep on doing it. And life is 90% is showing up. And that's what it's all about. Just show up, suit up and show up. And that's what I did. All right, drummers, take it away.